Melanin is the primary determining factor of skin and hair color. However, few people know that melanin is essential for the brain and nerves to operate, the eyes to see, and the cells to reproduce. What's even more alarming is that when we talk about melanin, that discussion rarely includes its actual biological benefits. So who has more melanin? Studies show that Africans and Indians have the highest amount of melanin with no significant difference between the two. Those with the highest amount of melanin should know about the benefits of dark melanin skin and how those benefits can be blocked. Sadly, most of them do not. In this fourth session of the series, we will continue to uncover these melanin secrets. Let's begin by reading this passage from Song of Solomon. This is 1:5 from the Septuagint translation. It says, I am black but beautiful, ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. How many of us actually embrace our blackness that way? When we truly understand just how powerful this chemical called melanin is and how beneficial it is to us, we would love and appreciate our blackness even more. So I want to now focus on things that are a danger to our melanated bodies, because these are the things we rarely hear about. It would appear that this information is known, and what we didn't know did indeed hurt us. This chemical in our bodies called melanin is there for a reason. It is now known to be functioning much like a supercomputer, but there are things that can neutralize its effectiveness or cause it to work against us. So I want to share one more clip from Dr. Carol Barnes, and I must warn you that the sound quality and the images are not the best, but you should be able to get the point of what he's saying.
Now, tell me there's not a difference there. They say we're all the same, but if you are going through identifying things in the lab, you've got to have physical and chemical changes to identify things. And therefore, there's a physical change there. That's one of the tools that the scientists use, okay? Now, people who use drugs, lax dissolve lax. Remember this. You put water into it. Why does water dissolve and sugar dissolve into water? Hydroxyl groups. Similarities. That's what I mean. Similarities. Water to OH group, sugar to OH, attraction for each other. Okay? Now, alkaloids. There are alkaloids in your body, and there are bad alkaloids outside of your body that you use. And all these things fit under the same category. We call them alkaloids. Purine, pyrrole, quinones. Okay? You familiar with those? Those at the top are harmful alkaloids. But look at serotonin and melatonin. Is there much difference? Look at here. You see? Nature picked those out and they're using them. But if you use those at the top, they're going to kill you. Okay? This is very important. Now, let's move on to, this is melatonin. It tells some of the properties that it do, but the main thing, it polymerizes into melanin and improves Parkinsonism and that sort of thing. Serotonin, same thing. Okay, we got a few properties on it. Now these chemicals in the black human that polymerizes into melanin. Phenylalanine, tyrosine, dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, tryptophan, serotonin, melatonin. And you can have all of those things at one time. You can have one at one time throughout the entire body. You see how many different melanins can be formed from that? Okay? But again, we'll look at similarities relative to the drug. Okay? Now, this is cocaine, marijuana, LSD. You want to see the similarities? Boom. See this endo here? See this system here? Similarities. When you go back here and look at the endo, this is the endo. This is the endo. You see? Well, that's LSD. Now these things will merge with these things, therefore causing a quicker addiction and different chemical reactions to take place where you would stay hooked longer. Okay? Therefore, the social scientists who are dealing with getting these people from being hooked have to deal with the fact that we stay hooked longer. It's going to cost more for us to get unhooked. So it's an economical thing. Okay? These are other things that are similar to melanin. You got codeine, morphine, caffeine, nicotine, Agent Orange. You went to Vietnam. This stuff here, get in your bloodstream. I mean, if it gets tied up with melanin, forget about it. It's going to be there. Okay? Agent Orange, paraquats. Paraquats will be there. Okay? So it's very important when these chemical dumps are put on outside of town that they not be put on outside of town. You see what I'm saying? All right? The neuroleptics, phenothiazone. I'm sure that the psychiatrists that are here today were familiar with these drugs here. The structure, if you go look at the structure of these things, they're similar to melanin. They will dissolve into the melanin molecule. And there's no difference from black Africans and that.
Now, hopefully you understood his main points. Basically, that there are certain drugs that are so similar to melanin that it will bind with it. Now, that's important because when it comes to certain drugs, the chemicals in it will bind with melanin and cause our people to become addicted to it quicker and cause the addiction to last longer. He named a few like codeine, morphine, caffeine, etc., and then some of the more dangerous drugs. Now, this article from the Pharmacology Education Partnership is saying some of the same thing. But there's something here we didn't know. Listen to this. With the advent of very sensitive chemical techniques, scientists have discovered that drugs such as cocaine, morphine, nicotine, and amphetamine can be detected in human hair. Do the drugs get into the hair from inside the body or from the air? The answer is both, depending on the volatility of the drug. This poses a dilemma. For example, drug testing of athletes in sports or job applicants might involve hair samples, which are easier to collect than urine. If the subject has a positive test, how do the testers know if the drug came from the environment or from drug use? These questions must be answered if drug testing in hair is to become a standard procedure. Let's keep going. In order for a drug to get into the hair from inside the body, it must be distributed throughout the bloodstream. Drugs like morphine, for example, get into the bloodstream directly by injecting them into a vein. If a person snorts cocaine, smokes a cigarette, or swallows an amphetamine pill, the drug must pass first through several barriers to get into the bloodstream. Let's keep going. It says once these drugs reach the bloodstream, they travel throughout the body wherever the blood goes. As the heart pumps blood, the drugs are carried in the arteries to organs and tissues. I'll drop down. It says the hair follicle is made up of different kinds of cells that have different functions. Once drugs such as morphine, cocaine, nicotine, or amphetamine gets into the hair follicle, they bind to melanin, the pigment that gives hair color. It goes on to say it is also possible to detect drugs such as nicotine and cocaine in hair of individuals that do not smoke or do not use cocaine. The drugs do not reach the hair through the bloodstream. Instead, they enter hair from the environment surrounding the user or people nearby. Let me drop down. It says the smoke stays in the air surrounding the smoker and other people nearby. The drugs dissolved in the smoke easily penetrate the hair to bind to melanin. Did you all know this? This is shocking. Let's keep going. Now, this article comes from the National Library of Medicine entitled Melanin and Neuromelanin Binding of Drugs and Chemicals, Toxicological Implications. Now, remember, neuromelanin is in the brain. That's the black substance in the brain. So it says melanin is a polyanionic pigment that colors the hair, skin, and eyes. The pigment neuromelanin is closely related to melanin and is mainly produced in specific neurons of the substantia nigra or substantia nigra. Certain drugs and chemicals bind to the melanin / neuromelanin and are retained in pigment cells for long periods. This goes back to what Dr. Carol Barnes was talking about when he said the addictions for our people is quicker and breaking the addiction will be harder. So are the pieces of the puzzle starting to come together? You all, this is because of the level of melanin in our bodies. Do you think folks knew about this? Is this why the government played a part in putting drugs in our community? You better believe it. This report or article from Prime PubMed is confirming what was said. Certain drugs and chemicals bind to melanin, neuromelanin, and are retained in pigment cells for long periods. The specific retention is thought to protect the cells, but also to serve as a depot that slowly releases accumulated compounds and may cause toxicity in the eye and skin. Moreover, neuromelanin and compounds with high neuromelanin affinity have been suggested to be implicated in the development of adverse drug reactions in the central nervous system, as well as in the etiology of Parkinson's disease. It's saying that the studies implicate the exposure to pesticides, metals, solvents, and other chemicals as risk factors for Parkinson's disease. Let's keep going. What else is a danger to those with more melanin in their bodies? Mercury. And guess where it's found? In skin lightening products. This comes from the World Health Organization. It says skin bleaching cosmetics with inorganic mercury have been used to suppress melanin production. Over-the-counter bleaching products recommended for fading discolorations due to melasma, burns, and acne scars have been reportedly used in the whole face with the purpose of fading skin tone. It is a practice with increasing prevalence around the globe, most notably in African countries and Afro-diaspora regions such as the Caribbean. Reports have also noted availability of products in several parts of the world. Now listen to this. It says routes of mercury exposure associated with the use of skin lightening products may involve skin absorption and also inhalation of mercury vapors, particularly with prolonged use. Thus, these products may potentially affect not only the user, but also members of the household who might be at risk of exposure through the direct contact with contaminated items or inhalation of mercury vapors released from the products. Did you all know this? Inorganic mercury-containing products have been found in the form of creams, serums, masks, toners, lotions, emulsions, gels, liquids, powders, deodorants, oils, soaps, and sticks. You all, this, I'm telling you, when Scripture says we are destroyed because we lacked knowledge, it is so true. It is so very true. So listen, it says, although the Food and Drug Administration and the European Union limits are 1 and 70 ppm respectively, these studies have shown several mercury-containing products with levels well above these limits. Now the article goes on to say the renal system is critically affected following inorganic mercury exposure. So it goes on to talk about some cases of those who have been affected by this exposure, one being a 20-month-old child who was diagnosed with mercury poisoning, and the child had symptoms such as refusing to walk, irritability, difficulty sleeping, poor appetite, and the child was contaminated through the mother who was using a skin lightening cream. Another one was a teenager, and the teenager's symptoms same as the child, in that this teenager had weakness in the legs, twitching of lower extremities, tongue and lips, unsteady gait, delirium, agitation, sleep disturbances, profuse sweating, persistent tachycardia, and hypertension. 9 family members who were non-users also had elevated mercury levels. If this is in your house, you better get it out, family. You better get it out. Let's continue. So it says the use of mercury containing, so clearly mercury is a factor here. Mercury containing skin lightening products is a multifaceted issue with potential severe implications. Perceived severity of early symptoms by health practitioners and exposed individuals may affect the development of exposure investigations, adding another barrier to proper diagnosis. Other implications of skin bleaching are tied to cultural and psychological factors. The historic colonialism and enslavement, idealization of European beauty standards, and barriers of social and economic mobility are reasons that could explain the phenomenon. Could, I would say it would explain. It says, in addition, the practice of skin bleaching is more prevalent among women who aim to gain acceptance by the opposite sex by mirroring the European ideals of beauty. Let's say that again. It's more prevalent among women, and let's go ahead and say Black women, who aim to gain acceptance by the opposite sex by mirroring the European ideals of beauty. This is extremely important for us to understand. It goes beyond just using some cream to get rid of a spot. No, this is trying to create or model ourselves after this ideal of beauty as presented to us by a people who have very little melanin. I hope you're getting that. So it says, James et al. Also describes the use of skin lightening creams in association with trauma and childhood physical and sexual abuse, especially among women, which are often under vulnerable conditions and prone to depression and traumatic experiences. What's sad is that a lot of our people don't even know that bleaching is actually a toxin, or the bleaching creams. And you can find these creams in most stores. but it's a toxin. It's destroying functions in the body. Listen to Dr. Ann Brown talk about some of the damaging effects. And this is a clip from Transatlantic Productions.
You're asking that these, because of the domination of racism and white supremacy by a group of people who made it so, that kind of psychosocial concept has permeated the entire globe, that one needs to be without a pigment, white. Mm-hmm. And so that shows that kind of internalization has occurred throughout the world. Mm-hmm. So that's a strong force that's generated by the people that are ruling, that are in charge, that you know, if you're white, you're right, and if you're black, you know, you're down, and so on. So Michael Jackson and these people, to be accepted, and that happened when I was growing up too, at that time, to be accepted, then you have to get as closer to whiteness as you can to get jobs, so that you're socially and psychologically as well accepted. Then you need to go closer and closer towards the lightness, because they abhorred blackness or darkness. So that's just a social cultural kind of construct that people have internalized, and they're using that as a sort of as a positive way of accepting people.
What is the damage
the damage that it can do to the whole body is, as I said, it can destroy functions in the body, and one has to look closer to one who does that to see what damage it does in that person's body. Mm-hmm. Michael Jackson may have gotten some kind of body condition. I haven't kept up with what the doctors say he has, you know, lupus or whatever, but it can create various body conditions because it's a functional molecule. Mm-hmm. It functions in the nervous system, in the endocrine system, in the digestive system, in the kidney system, in the reproductive system, and all of those systems. So it has to do then with what part of the system that was weak enough to become damaged as a result of your bleaching the skin on a consistent basis. Mm-hmm. See, you have to put the chemical or the toxin there on a consistent basis. That's one of the things of taking medication. You must have the medication at a certain concentration for a certain period of time, mm-hmm. in order for that thing to show some kind of efficacy. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is that when you consistently take something or use something on your skin or in your hair or wherever, then with time you destroy the natural original function of that particular area that you are exposing to a chemical. And then some damage can, we don't have to give it a name, but I'm saying some damage can occur as a result of the use of some chemical poison consistently.
Listen to this from Walk-In Dermatology. It's the dangers of skin bleaching. It says why you could be slowly killing yourself with some products. And some of the dangers listed: high blood pressure, fatigue, light sensitivity, numbness, neurologic symptoms including tremors, memory loss, and irritability, kidney failure, lung damage, greater risk of developing skin cancers. Let's go on. It says skin bleaching is now so popular that on a global level, skin lightening products now represent half the cosmetic industry, according to a recent news report from NPR. Worldwide, the market for skin lighteners last year was estimated at $8.6 billion and expected or projected to hit $12.3 billion in the next 6 years. Now, this was a report from last year. So last year, the industry made $8.6 billion. Do you think they really want to get the word out about the dangers associated with these skin lightening creams? I don't think so.
The World Health Organization says a quarter of Senegalese women use skin lightening products regularly. The products, even those claiming to have so-called natural components, can contain mercury and caustic agents like sodium hydroxide. These are dangerous ingredients that can cause cancer and are potentially disfiguring. VOA's Anne Look has more from Dakar, where women say the risks are simply the price of beauty.
A typical beauty supply shop in Dakar, complete with a selection of skin lightening creams and soaps.
This lotion, it is carrot-based. It doesn't have any hydroquinone. It will make you an amazing color.
Shop clerk Adama Jain says she uses a similar cream, and she tells clients to avoid the stronger ones that promise fast, dramatic results.
It is a personal choice. No one pressures me. Some women want to be black every day, but I prefer to be a shade of brown. It's better for me. I like it.
Women in Senegal say they lighten their skin for the same reasons women the world over say they tweeze, squeeze, or otherwise alter their bodies in sometimes dangerous ways to achieve a certain standard of beauty, to catch a husband, to stand out in the crowd, to smooth out imperfections, to get ready for a special event. Soap seller Alaji Traore mixes together skin lightening soaps that come from Ivory Coast, Mali, and Ghana.
This one is called 3 days before the wedding. It is too strong to use alone. You have to mix it with other products.
Women complain that products like this can sting their eyes or burn their skin. The harsh chemicals can weaken the tissue, leading to stretch marks and infections. But still, they don't stop. Senegalese filmmaker Harriata Puisal was so troubled by the trend, in particular among prominent female public figures in the media, that last year she made her international award-winning documentary, This Color That Bothers Me. It aired nearly a dozen times on state television in Senegal.
J'ai choisi de choquer les gens. J'ai utilisé des images vraiment choquantes pour que les gens sachent à quoi elles s'exposent.
I used the most shocking images so that women would know what they are exposing themselves to. Many of them know the dangers but don't think it will happen to them. It is hard to understand why a woman would tell herself that dark skin is not beautiful. It's in their heads. They want to please a man, to be loved, or they want to please society, to succeed.
Saul says the government needs to better regulate the marketing and sale of these products, but that educating women is really the only way to make skin lightening go out of style. Anne Look, VOA News, Dakar.
How incredibly sad that these women are willing to ignore the risks. This brainwashing runs deep, you all. This is similar to an addict who refuses to acknowledge that there is a problem. You can't deal with the issue if you're not willing to face it. And what we see is a manifestation of the psychological programming. Our oppressors created this concept of beauty. And while our people, or some of our people, are trying to get rid of their dark melanated skin, this protective mechanism given to us by our Heavenly Father, other folks are trying to get it. As I said before, we have to educate ourselves about melanin. Those who have very little of it don't have much of an incentive to educate us about the value of our black skin, especially when it's known that melanin is essential for the body to function properly. So those with the highest amount of melanin should be the ones to know about the benefits of dark melanated skin, as well as things that pose a threat to it. Sadly, most of our people do not. The scripture is so true when it says, "My people are destroyed because they lack knowledge." Family, the Almighty placed melanin in our bodies for a reason. It serves a purpose, and it is up to us to learn about its function. This verse from Mark 12:31 says, "You shall love your neighbor as yourself." Pay close attention to this. You are to love others as you love yourself. Most of us fall short on loving ourselves. Now we know that this was a part of the brainwashing for us to think that white skin is better. But hopefully you now know that it was all a lie. The dark melanated skin is more beneficial. And melanin is about more than skin color. We have been duped, you all. We've been duped. We have allowed the oppressors to dictate our level of truth and understanding for far too long. Let's be wise stewards about this body that Abba Yah gave to us. So let's continue the discussion on the live this Wednesday. And remember to hit like, share, and join me next time. Shalom, everyone.